Are we on? Good. Welcome to the Better Than Not podcast. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. But when we at least do something, we know it's almost always better than not. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Better Than Not. In this episode, I talked to my good friend Payman Kianpour, who is founder and CEO of Kepstrum, Inc., a design company. Payman likes to use these podcasts as a means of his, shall we say, design thinking and various topics that we talk about. Particular in this has been around energy. Not only the material energy that we see from engines and machinery, but the energy that I'll call it psychological, or the unconscious energy of love and thinking, the things that we can't actually touch, but no doubt require energy as our own energy gets depleted when we think a lot, for example. I hope you'll enjoy this episode. I certainly enjoyed having the conversation again with Payman Kianpour.
Always are.
Hi there, and welcome to Better Than Not, the podcast that aims to capture shifting perspectives and thought-provoking ideas in conversation, based loosely on my series, A Changing Frame of Reference, which you can read on the Substack app, and I hope you will, as it might give you some insight into what this podcast is all about. I'm your host, Doug Gardam, and today I'm excited to welcome back a returning guest, this time in video, Payman Kianpour. Payman, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Very excited to be here on video.
You're not alone with that. Payman is a very good friend. Payman is actually the founder, CEO, president of Kepstrum, Inc., which is a design company like no other. And you'll probably find out a little bit about that today. Payman and I originally met at a company that we both worked for, but didn't really work together. However, somehow or other, we began conversations at lunchtime, kind of fascinated by how each other thought and so on. What really connected us really came from Payman a number of years ago. I was doing a book signing in Toronto, and he unexpectedly came out and visited me, interested in my books. So excited as I was, we had coffee. And since that point in time, which is a number of years ago, we've held a regular conversation, which has now become part of the Better Than Not podcast. So Payman is super busy. It's a very busy time with business today. And he's given us a little bit of time today. He'd love to give us lots more, as I would, but it's going to be fun as far as our conversation. How is that, Payman? Is that pretty fair?
Absolutely. It's. I think the part that I have to correct is that we had more often. We had talks more often after that. Is we missed the talk more often after that.
Oh, no question.
That's the talk that when we started talking about different in different dimensions, we could connect really well, and we could actually, build more into those topics that we always talked. So I really appreciate that. I always look forward to it. It's like a rehearsing, is a sounding board for each other. We always build
I was really intrigued by what you had said a while back, because Payman's been on a couple of episodes, and he was saying, I want this recorded because the thinking that we do in this podcast and these episodes, I'll go back to remember how we connected with different ideas, which he uses as part of, I think, his design company and his design ideas. And if you haven't worked with Payman before with Kepstrum, I suggest it be worth reaching out to him, because he will cause you to think differently no matter what you think about. That's where I said he fits in well with the podcast, because he's very thought-provoking, which we're going to get into right away. Because in a recent previous conversation, and I've been kind of intrigued by this, is like, how is this living in the present going?
Yeah, it's actually this. You have to practice a lot, not to think. Living in the present is is not by nature, is not humankind, is not when you go to the wildlife, a lion doesn't think about tomorrow, right? But humankind is just that's embedded in our mind that we need to think, we need to plan, we need to look at the future, we need to predict. All of these things are actually causing a lot of disruption
Oh yes.
over time. I learned that over time that too much prediction, too much, it generates worriness,
Oh yeah.
and then more importantly, when you start putting numbers together that our next year financial prediction and all that is is a load of baloney really, because you have to live in the present. The moment you are in is the moment you can actually add value. This is important. The moment you're in at
It's
this particular time is where the best effort must be put forward. So whatever
it's
you
it's
do builds the next moment. So if you start thinking about too much planning, I'm not saying.
oh yeah.
I mean, it's a very fine line between being worried or too much involved in too much overthinking, and maybe being in the present. But what I learned is that the best effort put forward right now builds the next moment, and that's the best I can do.
It's something that to me is almost represented in sport
Right.
because it's
Right.
one of those things where like you never really know the outcome of a game, as an example, till it's over.
Hmm.
There's been
Hmm.
lots of, shall we say, conspiracy theory with regards to certain sporting events being kind of,
Right. Right. Hmm.
shall we say, rigged. But in true sport, that you don't know, no matter how well you prepare, no matter how well you plan, until you're on that field, you're on the ice, you're in whatever court
That's a
you're
very good
playing,
point. Living in the
you
present,
don't know.
you
And
don't
I
know.
think what if you really looked at your at life, which you and I have both discussed, and I do regularly because that's kind of what I do now, is we're unbelievably bad at predicting. Like it's
Yeah,
actually stunning how if you start to pay attention to when you wake up in the morning and get out of bed and how many things you think are what gonna are going to happen and what
right,
actually happens,
right, right.
we're like in a massive overload of inaccurate prediction.
Exactly. And what happens is that when you pay attention to pay attention to this detail that you said, and start living in the present. As I said, for human being, that's not by nature. When you have a dog running around, living in the present, right?
Yes.
I always learn from the
Yes.
other part, from the wildlife or whatever. But when you look at those, you know, creatures, they have no worriness. They just run around the next minute, and you gotta live like that. If you start learning to live like that, you put your best effort forward at that
I think so.
particular moment. And
Yes.
and the best part of life that we could enjoy is the unknown part, because it's known. If somebody says, you're going to be dead in the age of 68,
Yeah.
what's the point of living, right? So if you put that in perspective,
Yes.
then
Yes.
the unknown part of life is something that we need to invest.
Yeah.
We need to invest. I gotta rehearse these things over and over. The unknown part of life is where we have to invest.
You
So
know,
what does that mean? We got to figure it out.
I think it'd be interesting to go back even historically
Yeah.
because I wonder whether prior to organized education, to how much we more lived in the present to
Mm.
survive versus what we kind of are programmed now to do. I mean, we're taught very early on, like preparing for the future, right? You always
Right.
have to be prepared for the future.
Right.
And I mean, we're in that world where you hear the retirement word a lot, which
Yeah.
I've never. liked that word because it's like you work hard your whole life doing a whole bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
and then you're going to retire and do nothing. And I've
It
watched too
is.
many people just crumble when that happens, right? Because your
This
purpose
idea
kind of
of retirement
disappears.
is another idea. These ideas are all built based on financial sectors
Yes,
concepts
yes.
of money making. Because I see ads coming up. Do you have $15 a month to invest in your funeral? Are you kidding me? Really? You want me to be excited to put $15 a month? I'm gonna put my
Because you're going
body.
to be there.
Yeah, I want to put my body on a stretcher and push it to the medical school so they can tear it apart and learn something from it. I'm not going to put $15 a month of my money to put me in a beautiful casket and bury me down the 6 feet under. Why? Like it's all of in this, and when you start from that point, you come back and start investing your retirement. Today, when somebody says to this state, right now, when my wife says we have to go visit this family in January. I
Mm.
can't connect. I can't connect between now and January. Do I exist? Is it working? Is it what is how does that what does that mean? Going in January? Is it tomorrow? Is okay? I can't connect even to a month later planning. You know,
I hear you.
let alone discussing retire. You know, we have to plan for our 70 when we become 75. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's
I
it's one of
can't.
those things. It's been a dis how do I say it? A disappointing maybe kind of thing that an aspect that we've been
Yeah,
kind of taught to be, to your point, it's a financial measure for sure.
yeah.
And I mean, I think it's probably difficult in this world to not be able or to survive without anything.
I tell you
But
what. Let me tell you what. If you at any given age, if you can wake up in the morning, come down the stairs, do your chore, get your coffee, get in a car and drive. That's the best you can get. It doesn't matter how much retirement or saving or doesn't matter because you will survive if you can do those activities. It doesn't
yes,
matter you have
yes.
a dollar in your account or 20 or 200,000. That's the part that we miss in our mind that we have to plan for our retirement. So then we get dementia and then we're in a nursing home. It doesn't matter. I have half a million in account or 2 million or a
Yes.
beautiful place. This is the part that we miss when we talk about
So,
retirement.
so Payman, how is it that we get convinced of this? Because to your, like, I
Yeah.
agree to what you said, and it's like, how do we get so, I'll say, afraid,
Mm.
fearful, even I'll say to the level of being terrified that we're not going to have enough, especially in this country. I mean, it just seems to
Convention.
me like
It's
it's
all
a
the convention.
very,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like it's ingrained in us very, very early.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
well, if
Yeah.
you don't do this, you're going to end up on the street.
Yeah. That's right. That's
And it's like, that is like, how do we, and it gets messed up in our heads, right? Because
yeah.
it's like, how does that translate into you're going to be on the street? It's just a weird, to me, a
Yeah.
weird, you're going to, and I think it's like, this is why I said, like, I wanted to start with living in the present, because I think there's
Yeah.
something very real about it that we kind of miss out when we're in the other two times, the
Yeah.
past, thinking about, right? Because a lot think about, oh, I should have done it this way in the past. Well, you didn't, and it's gone, and there's not
Yeah.
anything you can do about it other than make up for it in the present. And
I mean, all of
likewise,
those vocabularies that you were talking about, the right or wrong, especially the right or wrong, or mistake. The mistake is something that I'm really, really confused about it as I age. What does mistake mean? Like I wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to make the most stupid decision of my life today, right now? What is the definition of mistake? Then 2 years later,
yes,
oh, we made a mistake 2 years ago. What are you talking about? You made it. You made a decision based on the best information available to you. So now you
So
learn
this
something
is
through that. I don't. I can't
to
connect
me
with
a
that.
very good point that we should probably pursue a little bit more, because when you're saying that, it's like I think I've heard Brené Brown say something to this effect. And at one, well, a lot of us have this judgmental thing in our head: is are people trying to do the best they can by and large? Like, I mean, an overwhelming majority of people trying to do the best they can every day. Like, I really feel that. So when you say to the point, well, today's the day I'm going to make the mistake that's going to cost me for my future, kind of thing, like you just said, right?
Yeah.
Where did I
It's,
make that mistake? I don't think we think that way at all.
no, I think what I learned over time, over years and years, is that it's not about all of these things are subjective, and best of
Mm.
capability, best of effort, best, but we cannot measure those. What you can measure is your energy level.
Hmm.
I do things to the best, to my energy. When I, when I don't sleep, I just pass out on a couch. So that's my maximum energy level I put forward,
I
and the
hear
mind.
you on that one.
Yeah. So people make, and people act. Even decision doesn't mean anything to me. Okay, I live. Like, I go get water. I need it. I go get food. So if all of these words are losing their effect in my mind. The thing is that I act based on my energy level and to what I like to do to keep on doing it. It's really simple. I have energy,
Yes.
I have abilities, mobilities. All of it is measurable. I have mobility. I can get downstairs and get my coffee, get in the car. It's mobility. I have capability, abilities to do things that I like, and I have the energy that I do it 24/7. So it's simple, as simple as that. And the mistakes, right, wrong, balance life, and make sure you have family time. All of these things
Yes.
don't mean anything to me. Yes, I love, enjoy sitting down with my family, so I do. I don't do it because, okay, guys, I gotta cut off.
It's time.
I gotta spend time now with my family because I have to enjoy this. No, this mean, what does that mean? Like, it's got to cut off and go. So people have different perspective in life, but what I learned over time is that I do what I like, and that's how I survive with my energy level.
So, are you thinking that you're getting more focused on that now than you've been before, or are you just do you think like we're kind of almost reacquainting ourselves with something that we probably knew when we were 18?
I think we are now putting a meaning behind it. I think we've always been
Okay.
doing it. I've been always doing it like this. And I said, oh, what is. Then I keep hearing different things, right? Different, all these words, mistakes, go back, right, wrong, family time, balanced life, all of this didn't make any sense. Now I'm putting meaning behind it that, okay, it's none of those things really mattered. They're all commercials. you know, they're trying to sell something to you with those words.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I have mobility, I have certain capabilities. Those are all measurables: mobility, capability, and energy. Energy is the most important part. Energy.
Hmm.
If you
Hmm.
I worked 12 hours a day standing. Well, that's sort of energy, right? And I
Hmm.
like it that
Hmm.
way. So
Hmm.
somebody could do 2 hours, another person
Right.
would do 24. So I think energy is the most measurable sort of dimension in life, and everybody's putting
Right.
that energy forward to be able to accomplish. And they say accomplishment. What is accomplishment? I don't know. It's you like what you you like what you do. Okay, you do. So, and nobody. I don't believe any. You cannot force anyone to do what they don't like. Like I come
Oh,
across
interesting.
a lot of people. You do the way you. So it's not nagging about your life. I don't. maybe a lot of people are against this statement, but you haven't been in that situation, so you cannot tell. But I don't think you can force yourself to do. Let me correct it. I don't think you can force yourself to do something you don't like for a long time.
Well,
And
it's a good question because I often wonder when we think that, even in my own life, is that there comes to me a point where there were things that I didn't necessarily like what I was doing, but I had commitments that I had made
yeah,
that
right.
were like financial commitments for a family, like for a house, to give them food, those things that
Mhm.
I wouldn't always necessarily. Oh, I usually, most of the time, when I found that I didn't like something, I would really, I'll say, aggressively look for something that would be alternative to that. Because
Right.
like whether it was a perfect for what I wanted to do, I had to be able to like it enough. I had to have enough heart in it
Yeah.
to feel like I could do the best job I could at it. And likewise be able to, shall we say, pay for the things that were necessary for my
Right.
family. That was kind of how I would think about it. But there were many days that like that was a hard thing to kind of do. And now, like, I think trying to figure out like how best, I mean, that's part of what I even like to talk about on the podcast is how can this help others in the life. That's why I like the whole idea of living in the present, because
Yeah,
I
living in the
think
present. Yeah, yeah.
in
That's
many
a
in
key,
many
a key exercise. Key exercise. You can have a lot of talk about it, but if it needs tremendous amount of exercise because it's not ingrained it's not part of human being living in the present.
uh,
Is not is it, or we constantly plan. And what the
yes.
difference is between us and the wildlife, I call it. I don't even call them animal because animal is they downgrade. I think they're much better creatures than than in a lot of aspects of life. Like they don't have. When you go back to that, I have a derivative that I really respect the wildlife because they live a
Yes.
decent life. They don't kill each other for greed. They don't have
Unnecessary.
war. They don't have war. They don't have
That's
dishonesty.
yes.
They don't have any of those features that we as a creature of advanced creature we have, and we cannot get rid of it, and it causes a lot of misalignment in the world. So
It's weird when you say that like we are kind of recognized as the advanced creature, but
yeah,
in being that advanced creature, we have war. We
yeah.
have
Why do you
like
have war?
it's like
Why? Why do
and we
we
have these,
kill
yeah.
each other? Like it just we're hungry.
Well,
No,
to me
it's a
it
greed. Greed
one
is the major part of
yes.
humankind, right? The greed
Well,
is the one that differentiated. All of it is derivative of greed.
well, one of the things you haven't said already, and I think you've come to this realization, is you haven't talked about having the car or the nice house or the material things that we kind of get acquainted to in this world a lot too, right? Like we get an awful lot of those things. And I mean, part of a big realization for me was coming to the things you're chasing these things for the earlier part of my life, right? But
Right?
that new car becomes the old car dramatically quickly. Like in 2 weeks, that new
Yeah,
car is now kind of the old car.
it loses
And
its shelf life is very low. Its
the
shelf life.
lot, and it's not going, it's because that shelf life is diminishing more and more as the more we get, right?
Right,
And
exactly.
that's where, when you mentioned the greed and the war, it seems to me that this advanced species that we are
Right.
gets wrapped up in that. And that's where I think the timing that you said, living in the present versus the past and the future, they all mess with our minds to get us in a pursuit of something that we don't even necessarily want.
Right, right. It's again, the we talked about this in one of the podcasts. Um, y- the, living in a money based monetary environment is one dimension, is one dimensional life. So once you get really hooked up to that, you live in one dimension. You live in only one dimension. The only place you can live multidimensional is your mind. That you can actually imagine, dream, and make things happen and do things the way you like to do. So that's in your mind that is multidimensional. Because in the physical world where the money is spent in the physics, right? In the physical world, you buy a car, you buy a house, you can only sit on one chair.
Yes.
You can
At a
only
time.
only drive one car. You can only be in one bed and one shower, and it's all one, right? But I can, but
I
in
I
reality,
like how you
in
said
my
that.
mind, I can do a lot of different things, and I can actually make those happen with our connected to reality by thinking. Multidimensional world is in the brain, is in thinking.
You know,
We,
you're almost touching on, or are touching on a like a consciousness issue where you're comparing like the material world, this existence that we
so
get to
yeah,
live in,
yeah, yeah,
to this. When you say the mind, I'll use the word spiritual for lack of a better term. I often think of it in many ways like the unconscious, like
yeah,
that
yeah.
part that where we go at night when we sleep, right? Like that other part of our existence
Mhm.
that you just said it. Money, material is not part of that.
Yeah, it's so investing. I think we talked about this before. That I realized that at the age of, if you reach to a certain age, that you have some assets, you
Hmm.
have some experience, and you still have some dream. So
Hmm.
you have dream. If you can balance between asset, experience, and dream, you live a life twice.
Yeah,
Because
I,
if
I'm
you start
I'm
building
glad you
an asset,
brought this.
right,
Yes.
I think you can keep on building the asset, then okay, you're just tied to that asset, and that asset stays and you go. That's
Yep.
that's that's all there is to it. But if you start balancing that asset and putting that back into your dream, using your experience, you live a life twice.
Yes. Yes. I like
That's
it when you put this together because we talked about this before, and I think this. I have another friend who kind of has this adage is that we lived. Let's put it. We live it to 80 to 100 as an example. We don't know for sure that that's going to happen. But what are you going to do in the second half of your life?
yeah. We
And
get
that's
to that
kind of
age.
what you're saying is like, I mean, health is a part of that, which again, that's that future thing. That's not living in the present, right? You're
Yeah.
that's that
But
future thing.
that's
If
not in your control. That's not in your control at all. Like it is not at all. Like it's zero. I was walking from IKEA the other day. Went with my
yes,
colleagues, went for a quick lunch. It's a beautiful lunch there, actually. Beautiful scenery and all that. The second floor, they did a great job in that restaurant. Coming back, I'm on my phone and I missed the 3 millimeters of gap between
oh,
the asphalt ending and the pedestrian road starting, and I hit
ah,
and I missed it, and I rolled. I
oh,
rolled
you
and rolled.
fell.
I fell and fell badly, and I started rolling. The cars would
Oh my
stop on the
goodness.
side of the road, coming down and say, because I'm a big guy. Imagine
Yeah,
me rolling on a
you went
rolling
right
on a
down.
sidewalk, rolling on a sidewalk. It's just embarrassing.
Yes, I can hear that.
So
Yes.
you don't know. When I
Yeah.
went to my doctor, I didn't care. I got up. It was painful. I had to continue the conversation anyway because I liked that conversation that was going on, and I didn't pretend. I pretended that nothing happened. I just dropped my pen, but
But it hurt.
it hurt a lot. So in a way that I went to my physician of 20 some odd years. We have great relationship together. And he goes, injury aside, is there a YouTube video of this? Because it's pretty funny the way
Oh,
you
really?
you fell on the sidewalk.
Thanks, Doc.
Yeah, with injury aside, I see you're walking and all that. I'm not worried about you. So it's just so. What happens is that you really don't know the next
You don't.
second.
No.
So people say, "Oh, I want to, I want to invest in my retirement." You don't know. At the next day, you get a lump and a bump, and you don't
Yep.
know. And no
No.
matter how much of a good food you have, or
Mm-mm.
exercise and gym and all that, maybe 5%. Yes, diet helps you a bit, in your regular stuff. I'm not denying that. That's for sure. You got to have a good diet. But you don't know. It's all about your
You
DNA.
don't.
If it's in your DNA, 99% of it is in your DNA. And
Yes.
people
Yeah.
who are doing, if you cannot make a certain habit, diet, whatever you call it, as part of your lifestyle, as when it becomes part of lifestyle, that means you like it. If you cannot make it part of a liking part, then you cannot sustain it anyway. You go back to it. You know,
Well,
I like chocolate.
it has to become part of your
Part of
life,
your
right?
life.
Like it.
Like it's
Yeah.
got to be part of your lifestyle that you do. Like I drink water a lot. It's part of my lifestyle. I like it, so I do.
Yeah.
So what happens is that you really don't know. So investing in the future that is not known is
Mm.
is rather gamble. Is a gamble. Is a gamble.
Well,
It's
well,
not
it is a gamble.
predictable.
It's for sure a gamble, but it's also one of those things. I mean, you don't know like that it's going to happen for sure. And when perchance that they do line up,
Yeah.
then, and this comes back to your point when you talked
Yeah.
about war and greed, you come back and you kind of take credit for it. Like, I'm in this situation now, nice, because of what I did. And what I
But
struggle with today
But you continue doing
is,
it. But you continue doing it though. You continue doing it. So what is the difference? You continue as long as you continue
yep.
doing it. You have ability, energy, mobility, capability, energy, measurable stuff. Then you continue doing it. So
Well,
what is
this
the
is to me, this is one of the things that I find kind of interesting of how they go, because it's like you've learned this, like you've learned to think of the future, right?
right?
And I don't know that we actually, like, when you think of a kid, kids don't think that way. If
Mhm.
anything, to your example, um, I think kids live in the present
Yeah,
a
that's.
lot.
I think from the beginning, it starts diminishing as they age, but
Well, I think we're taught.
yeah,
I
because
think
yeah,
we're taught
exactly
it,
because of socializing with the adults. So, so they start
and
thinking that.
we're taught it in not a. It's not meant to be a bad thing. Like, it's not done with malice that we're taught
Yeah,
this. It's taught. It's done with loving and good cheer, right? Like, we're taught. Well, I shouldn't say necessarily it's that, because as you get older, it gets a lot. It's not good cheer anymore.
yeah, yeah,
Like, what are you going to do with your life? You need a job, right? That's the kind of thing that goes on. But it's one of those things to me that is a bit deceptive,
yeah.
because we kind of like, you kind of think that we're now the ones in control, and with us being in control, all this is going to happen if we do these things. And by and large,
That's a
I don't
wonderful.
think it.
Actually, you mentioned a very interesting. This is a very interesting topic that we think we are in control. How?
Mm,
We don't even know. We don't even know how we are on the planet Earth. We don't even know what we come back with Big Bang Theory. We don't even know how we ended up here. How
no,
do we?
no.
How on earth we think we're in control?
Well, I think we think we're in control when things are going our way. I think it's a big part. Like, it's like,
Yeah, that's
I'm
another topic that I
successful.
love. Yeah. Oh,
I'm
success is don't
successful
even bring don't even bring it. Don't even bring it success because
because
it
of what
doesn't
I
mean
did.
doesn't
And
mean
it's
anything.
like, what is
Success is in the eyes of
success?
yeah.
What is
Success is in the
success?
eyes of others. In the eyes of others, people look at
Mm,
you. Oh, you run a company. You have a nice car. That's success in the eyes of others. The
yes.
misery that you're going in and the driving factors you have in your life. If you want to be if you want to start defining success, it's only an optics in the eyes of others. You can't feel it. You can't. What you feel
Yes.
is that you are happy and you are energetic to continue. I don't know if you want to call it success. Then no, I don't. I have no. I have no definition for success really. It's
It's
the
to
eyes
me
of
like
others.
you hear it, and to me it's a tough one in many ways because it's almost defined individually. Because it's, I mean, recently remember hearing somebody say that I learned a lot from my failures, but I've learned nothing from my success.
That's actually another way of looking at it. You can when everybody's yeah, you can never learn if you. That's what we say always. You say yes keeps the lights on. No gives you direction. Yes, you don't learn from the yes, but you learn a
Mm,
heck of a lot from a no. Because if when somebody cares to tell you no, then
yes.
about anything, a business or adventures. And I think it comes down with all of these words again out of I'm going to add to my vocabulary. You have energy, you have
Yes.
mobility, and you have a certain capability to do what you like. At the end of the day, what you do, it's about meeting your environment's expectation. Do you meet the expectation or you don't? That the
Mm,
differential is the driving factor that moves forward. It keeps you pushing forward.
hmm.
If I'm not meeting in business, I don't know. I don't lost track of all these vocabulary, business, life, balance, all that. I don't know. I do what I do every day, and so that potential, that differential,
Yeah.
is the driving factor. So if you meet everybody's expectation, again, you're dead. You're done. So
Yes.
that differential in the expectation is what keeps me up at night and what gets me out of bed and and allows me gets me to live. That differential,
Mm.
that if you meet all these expectations, there's nothing there. You know, that's dead system.
When you say that, it's like it's empty because, like you to your point, you
Yeah.
met expectations, but were they yours?
Yeah, so even failure loses its effect in me. Like, what is failure? I failed. No, I did not meet that expectation. So what is that expectation? It's not failure. For quite some
Mm,
time I was building into failure. I love failure because of failure. But then I started thinking again as I aged. I said, "What the hell is failure?" I didn't meet that expectation, so I couldn't get on the bus. So the bus is moving and I'm standing, and so I failed to get on the bus. No, the bus is moving. I'm not moving. So, it, is it a failure? What is this? Seriously, the bus is moving, and your bus is in the
yep.
station, and you're not moving. Oh, I failed to get on the bus. No, because you didn't move. You didn't meet the expectation of the bus. Door
Right.
open. You gotta get. So those things are pretty a losing effect in my mind. That those vocabularies are. I live by expectation. I try hard to understand your expectation, and if that's in line with
Mm.
with my driving
With
factors,
what you want to do.
what I
Yes.
want to do and
Yes.
what makes me happy to do. When years ago when we went to we had a gift for our customers. I don't know what customer means anymore. It's just people who that even loses effect. I don't want to call client, customer, all of these guys. People love to see me. I love to see them. Those
Oh,
are the things.
yes.
So that's what matters. And what happened here is that we prepared a gift and we gave people who were working with us with a note. we thank you for giving us what we love to do.
Ah,
That's it. Happy, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. No,
yes.
no, no. Thank you for giving us what we love to do. That was it. That was the note on top of the box of chocolate we exchanged because we both love
That's
chocolate.
pretty cool.
So at the end is the expectation. So I go to meetings and I try hard to understand the expectations and I learn a lot from those and I come back and those expectations go further and I fall behind and I try to push forward, and that's what the meaning of life is, expectations. But if you meet all the expectations, or in the eyes of others you're successful, right? But there's nothing left.
Yes. I think when you say meeting the expectations of others, so to speak, those expectations have to be in line with something in you
Yes,
that's
it's what I
more,
want to do.
that's
What
more,
what makes me happy? I want to be part of it. However you want to put it, I want to be on that bus. So what is the expectation of that bus? That I move towards that bus when the door is open. I got to jump in. I have a ticket. So if I want to be on that bus, I get up 6 o'clock in the morning, wait for that bus at 6:15. So
yes.
that's so if I didn't so that's what the life is, because I want to be on that bus,
Yep.
right? So
Yep. And you'll
okay,
do what it takes to get on that
what it,
bus.
take, what it takes to get them, and there is expectation there that I have to meet, and that expectation keeps on changing. I keep on changing. Even failure loses its effect. The meaning of failure. Success is gone for a long time in my mind. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything. It's the eyes of others. Failure is also expectation. Why did I? It's expectation I didn't meet. So that's
Well,
actually a driving factor.
I would go far. I go farther than that, actually, even in even in some of my books, and that is, I sometimes wonder, do we learn anything that isn't
Mhm.
through a failure? Like, no,
Again,
like
if
there's
you
various levels of failure,
yeah.
but I really struggle to say, do we actually learn anything that, like, as an example, here's an example for me. So you can remember these days, we'd go through and do a project, and we'd be months or years doing a project. And once we finish the project, okay, I want you to write a little book, a book on how to do this, like lessons learned,
Yes, sir.
so that someone else doesn't have to go through this. And I'm going, how do I create something that's going to protect someone from not having the same failure experience that I did
Yeah,
to learn?
yeah.
And I kind of go, like, what have I done that I can think of that I learned something without having like done something that didn't work?
Mm.
Like, it's just, to me, it's one of those things that it's it's a bizarre thing of how it affects us.
Right,
And
right.
yet if we're
Yeah,
successful, we forget about it.
yeah.
Like,
If you're, and now word success is thing to the failure. People say, when the expectation is not met, I think both parties are feeling it. You know, if the
no
bus
question. Yeah.
if the bus
Yes.
left empty and you're the passenger, the only passenger here, you both feel that gap. Because I don't
Yes.
even want to
Yes.
use the word failure, because failure is also becoming a very it's like
Yes.
it's not one person failing, is the whole expectation didn't was not met.
Mm,
So
hmm,
I want to
hmm.
focus on expectation, because when I talk of failures, then it becomes dramatic. Like, it's, oh, we failed that thing, and then no, we didn't meet that expectation. So what's the expectation? We want to get that job. What's the expectation? What do we have to fulfill? And to make sure that you meet it, life becomes simple. I have to meet it. I love what I love to do something, and that thing has, there are certain people who have the ownership of it, and I want to be part of that game, and there is expectation to be met. I have energy, mobility, and capability to make it happen, to keep myself happy. And So that's the circle of life for me. All of these other words are gone in my mind: success, failure,
Mm,
mistakes, right, wrong. You know, uh, it's all
it
gone.
doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Because
matter
I
anymore.
mean, it's
Failure was
almost
the
like
last word I lost. Failure was the last word I lost last year because
interesting.
I kept it for a long time. And it's like I always learn from. I said, "What is failure really?"
What is it even?
He said,
Yes.
yeah, if they, it's expectation not met. So when you go to a room, try to understand, listen to learn, not listen to respond, listen to learn, and to put a big shell all over it is that you gotta love people. You cannot have. That's very difficult because people just start generating ideas about others, and I learn. I try hard to love people.
So Pema, where did that come from to you?
Yeah, that years and years of encounters with
Because you don't actually have to even utter that. You
mm,
like in words like that. It's the way you speak, the way you listen, the way you are with people. Like you feel as a person feels like
yeah.
you're kind of, I'll call it, you're loved, right? It's one of those, it's one of those things, is like, in many ways, to me, it's one of the biggest things, factors that we have in our existence as human beings. We have that ability to do that. You go back to animals,
Yeah,
and you're
I
saying about living in the present.
have a lot of
We've
respect
been,
for animals. I don't even call them animals anymore because animal is a people use it as a curse.
yes, no,
I don't
true,
like
true
that.
enough, true
I don't,
enough.
so I call them a wildlife. That's I think is a better word for respecting the other creatures. But yeah,
But
over time.
where did that feeling come? Where did that thing come from for you? Because like it almost oozes from you. That's probably not the best way, but it, like, you just, you in talking with you, like you just bring that into the room with you.
Years of encounters with different people every day. You need to build certain different capacity, otherwise you get fed up, you get angry, you start judging based on conditions. I would say years of encounters and with others on a daily basis, and realizing that I am, this is important, I think, I am the common denominator in my situation. I cannot blame
Mm,
others for anything that
right.
happens to me, or uh, I'm the common denominator in all my again, I don't want to use those words, but I have no choice right now, in all my problems. If you want to call it
Mm,
a problem, if you want to call it failure, whatever you want to call it, I'm the common denominator. I'm the one in all of it.
yes, yes. That, yeah.
I cannot
But
blame
that
that
that's.
person. I cannot blame
But you know,
anybody else.
when you say that, Paymont, that's universal. We're all the common denominators in our own problems.
Yeah, it's
Like,
if
it's a
something is not,
universal thing that you can't get away from.
yeah, it's easy
And,
to push it to others, but if you take responsibility for it and start looking at those expectations you could not meet. But and don't forget, when you do not meet the expectation, you call it a failure. The other person
yes,
also failed. The other party also fails in that situation because
correct.
they spend the time with you. They want to be with you. They want to get the time is the only commodity you cannot purchase anymore. So whoever spends the time with you, it's the most valuable commodity shared. So,
Right.
and if the expectation is not met, both parties are
Sharing that.
not feeling well.
No, for sure. It's like, go back to your word of energy. And I'm feeling that there's a sense, there's almost more energy to be, I'll say, to not get along, to be angry, to
Yeah.
use a like the opposite of love is hate, as an example, it takes more energy than love does,
Right.
but is much more destructive.
Very true. Yeah, it's that's and yeah,
But
the
why do we go there? Like, what is it? What is it? Is it this? If I go to the material part that we talked about earlier on, there's something about the material world that's attractive to us. Like when we see the nice shiny new thing, right? Be it a phone, golf clubs, car, whatever
not
it
me,
is that
not,
enamours.
not me. It's I
No, but
was
at one time, wasn't something like that was like the new
yeah,
computer or the faster computer. Or there's something that attracts us to that. But
yeah,
when you go to your comment about love, that's that's not material anymore.
yeah, yeah.
That
There's
almost fits into your energy equation
yes,
now. That
yes, because you need to pump that energy, right? It's like a car. You got to put gas in it. You need to, you cannot
yes,
just keep on going with it. So the calorie you get, okay, keeps you up and running and so on. But the major energy you need in your mind it has to mobilize your mind, and
well, this
mobilize
this is what I'm
mind
getting
only
at.
works when you're happy. When you're happy. So you have to be happy for the mind to work. Not that wait for the happiness. This is one of the major things that we always struggle. We are waiting for happiness to be mobilized. No, you have to be mobilized for happiness to you have to be happy to be mobilized. So that happiness in your
Interesting.
mind, you have to be happy in the current situation. So it mobilizes you to fight harder for what you like.
Interesting.
Yeah, otherwise
Well,
you wait for.
you
These are the
you
things
you
that these are all coming to the living in the present. If you live in the present and you're happy that you're
yes.
mobile, I'm happy. I keep on saying, "Oh, I can go upstairs and get coffee." Wow, what a what a great thing, right? I could be just I'm driving to a meeting. I could be driving to a hospital for a chemotherapy.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
not. I'm
Yes.
not. So I'm going to a meeting. So if you keep on saying that to yourself, maybe you can drive that. You could
Well,
actually push yourself to that level.
what I think we're getting at here, to me, which is very interesting, and this is that because we're both from a mechanical so-called world with an engineering background, in the sense of the material energy that we constantly talk about, right? And when we think of energy, we think of it as a material thing. But when you cross that over and you said you've got to love people, we're
Yeah, I
no
love people.
longer in we're no longer in the material sense of flesh and blood that we are. We're now into this other, it's a different energy to me
Right.
than what we talk about from the point of view of what comes from an internal combustion engine, as an example, right?
Hmm.
And but we would describe them both as energy. And
Hmm.
to me, a big part of even what you bring into the design world is the thinking energy, which is, again, it's not something
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is the visible. It's not a visible matter.
Hmm. Hmm.
And how does that broach how we are because I think we're touching on like well-being of, I mean, previously we've talked a little bit about pain, the problem of pain, the difficulty of pain, that we all like, we're in a society that, well, you can't be in pain, you've got to eliminate all pain. And it's like, well, that's not real. Like we're going to have pain in our lives, we're it's just
Yeah.
part of it. But how do we deal with that pain? And pain, in that sense, is an energy that is not of the material sense. There's
Yeah.
there's a material it's a material energy, so to speak,
Yeah.
that can cause, like when you fell. It
Yes,
was
yes.
material that caused your pain, hitting the sidewalk,
Right, right.
rolling over the
Mm.
curve. But the pain you later experienced was an energy that was not material. And to me, this is where like the love part comes into it because
Hmm.
it's an energy, but it's not a material energy. And you cross this, I think, regularly when you're designing because thinking is an energy and it's not a material energy either. And so
Yes,
if I
that's a,
broaden this a little further,
yeah,
this is why I think it's so fascinating because we live in a material, an existence, right, in the universe
great.
that today the visible part of it makes up 5% of the universe. And what we're hearing, dark energy and dark matter, makes up 95% of it. It's the best that science can tell us today.
Hmm.
Now, of that, is that the unconscious? Does that fit what we're just talking about? Is there a thinking energy? Is there a pain energy? Is there a love energy that's part of that that we don't have the science for? We don't have any tools for it because we've been so focused on the flesh and blood energy, the
Hmm.
material energy that science has given us. Like, I mean, science won't even look at metaphysical things, so to speak, as an example. I don't have,
Right,
I'm lacking a word here, right?
right, right.
But you brought the word love up
Yeah, love.
as an
Yes.
important ingredient in problem solving, in setting expectations, which fascinated me in that you're here doing design and improving design through thinking, thought, the mind. And you brought love into that discussion.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a thought provoking word because the word love is loosely used in our
Oh, yes,
conversations. Lucy is like, I
yes.
love that. I love that dress. Or, no, you
Yep,
don't love
yep.
that. You don't like it. You probably like it. You enjoy you don't. You know the definition. If I work hard even on the definition of love. That what does it mean when you say love people? That means you have to miss people. Like what's the definition of love? Definition of love is to miss a conversation. To miss basically it comes down to conversation. To create conversations at the end. But you can't just
Oh,
watch. You can't just sit in front of a person and say, "I love that person," but I'm not going to talk to him. So love comes
that would be
missing.
called fantasy.
Yeah, love at the end. What's the definition of love? Missing a conversation. Because at the
Oh,
end, conversation is the exchange that we have. Like I miss this conversation. I love this podcast because we're openly talking, and I miss this conversation. And this conversation is generated by two people, and so it's
which you can't do without language.
which you can do without language, yes. And we to converse at the end, you come down that life is all about a great conversation because what is that? Anything else?
Well, I mean, that fits into your criteria of energy as well.
Yeah, everything is outside material. Yes, you need a certain material to carry forward. Yes, you need to, but the material is the ink the incoming material is based on is coming in. The incoming material is based on the energy you're putting in, and it will come anyway. Because if you love what you do, if you like what you do, if you miss when you say love what you do, means you miss it. You wake up in the morning and
Yes,
if I'm 2 hours late in I missed it. I miss it. If you miss it,
yes,
you do something that and anything that you love to do and you miss to do will add value anyway because you're it's part of you if you're imagining something you're
yes.
materializing something that's imaginable that material that will help somebody else so anything you do at the end of the day when you love to do it it adds value regardless and it brings material in so material will come is not so you don't do it for the sake of material you do it for the
You,
sake
you,
of love and
you're
happiness.
and I'm back to your word of energy, because there's an energy associated with that that's not
Yeah.
contingent on visible matter, the
Right.
material part that you're talking about. But
Yeah.
what is that? This is like, to me, this is a big part. I sometimes hope that, like, that with the broadening of our computer power, digital power, the
Mhm.
broadening of what we're learning, the extent that the internet has brought connection between people. As an example, this conversation we're having right now would probably have been very difficult to even do 20 years ago,
Mhm. True.
unless we were sitting face to face. So there's a transportation, there's a material sense to it. Now we're actually using a technology that we're communicating, but it's not outside of our computer part, it's not
Mhm.
material.
Right.
And
True.
I feel that there's something in there that, as humanity, we will grow to, but we still haven't grasped it. And it's really causing us great difficulty in the world today, because we are, well, in the Western world, we're tapped out materially. Yeah, sure, we still want the bigger car. Like, we got the big
Yes.
cyber truck
Yes.
that's the size of a bus. We've
No,
got,
right.
and
Right.
all the things that we can do. Like, I mean, the computer power we have is astonishing to me. What's in basically a chip the size of my baby finger. It's almost like
Yeah.
we've got the whole world of information in it now. But we're, but more than ever, we're, would it be correct to say we're unhappy? Like, like we're striving to be happy, and yet we have epidemic loneliness,
Yes.
and
Yes.
people feeling
Yeah.
like disconnected. Like, this is one of the things that I find so fascinating with this podcast, is that I can't do this in 2 minutes. Like, I can't
Mhm.
have this
True.
conversation in
No.
two
No.
minutes. We have had to go through this conversation for 50 minutes just to get to this point of talking about what you brought in originally around energy, and seeing that we don't even necessarily have the language or the tools to talk about the two different language, the energies we're talking about, meaning the material energy that comes from a rocket or an engine, to the energy that comes that we feel. You said it right early on. If I have the capability and I can stand up and I want to walk around, I have energy. And you don't sleep, you drop, like, you
Right.
until I don't have any more energy and I have to get it restored
Right.
again.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And to me, it's like that energy comes into designing, because it comes out in a material sense, so to speak. But there's a thinking energy that goes into a design, a thinking that goes into problem solving, a thinking that goes into conversation that we're having with an individual. Like you said before, I love that person, but I've never talked to them.
Yeah. Yeah. That those definitions become very obvious when you start thinking about it, and when you're talking about thinking in particular, even in the design work we do 90% of thinking and very little of doing.
Yes.
So that's what we're promoting. They do a lot of thinking, because doing is doing it, learning through doing is fine, but thinking is much more taking up will take up much more energy. If people think doing will take up a lot of energy, no, thinking takes up a lot of energy,
And
and
we're the
you have to
advanced
have that
animal
energy.
that has that.
What's that? Say it again.
We're the advanced animal that has
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we have that ability to choose. This is another problem we have, because we can choose the options. We have options. We can choose. Those are all working against us, really. I mean, we a lion doesn't have the option. If he is hungry, he has to hunt. Doesn't have the option to be comfortable on a couch. So
Yes,
these
yes,
options
and
also not working for us, is working against us, most of it, and causes a lot of unhappiness and disruption in life. but you gotta work to your energy level. If your
So
energy level is, if this is what the last thing I want to put into this, if your energy level is to get up in the 6 o'clock in the morning and do what you like till midnight, and then suddenly you retire yourself of that task that you love to do, then this is against the nature. That retirement becomes unnatural thing that you're doing just because you're at the age of 65 or 67, or now you have to retire.
I like that. It becomes
It's it's
an unnatural thing.
it's unnatural things. I still can't understand the word retirement. You're tired today, and then you're tired tomorrow, and then now you're retired. I told my friends, I said, if that's the meaning of it, guys, I've been retired for past 30 years. 'Cause I'm tired. At the end of the day, I'm very tired, and the next day, the same thing. So I still don't understand the word retirement. I think your
I
energy
can
level is your
I
energy
think there's
level.
an energy associated with because when
Yeah.
like you've got me going down this road right now, which I'm going to the pyramids. Now I'm specifically talking about the Giza pyramid.
Yeah.
It's now like Egypt is now the number one spot that I need to visit. So we want to do a tour. I think we've talked about this, doing a
Yeah.
tour of Iran, right?
Yeah.
And I want to go to Egypt as well.
Hmm.
And part of the reason why this, because I'm fascinated by these pyramids, specifically the three in Egypt that I have not heard a convincing argument on how they were built. Of the
Yes.
seven wonders of the world, they're the only ones still
Yeah.
standing, built with remarkable precision. They've been here for, we're told, 4,500 years. They're still in that position.
In that position,
They're
yes.
gigantic, and they have things within inside them that we just and the actual blocks that make them up are gigantic blocks. They fit so precisely together that like even in modern day tools we don't know how to really build them. We've got lots
Right.
of theories. And why I'm bringing this up is because I think it fits into what we're talking about in these energies. Because what we witness is a physical thing. That's why I want to go see them because I'm back in design world, and you still say that. But when I'd be working with like some of the designers, and I go like, okay, you got it on the screen. Get out to the shop and see what it looks like because I guarantee it won't be the same thing as what you think you're looking at on the screen. It becomes
Yes.
different when it's physical, right?
Right. Right.
And I learned this myself. Like, oh my goodness, that's a way different angle than I thought it was on the screen. Anyway, and to me, I haven't done that with the pyramids. I haven't gone out and actually because I don't yet believe that I have kind of absorbed the energy of their enormity, magnificence, whatever you want to call it, that exists on this planet. And I also like there's this some kind of energy went into making them
Right.
that I don't think is what we're talking about in the physical sense.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's not aliens, by the way. As soon as the aliens come on the table, I'm
Yeah.
out.
Well, yeah, yeah. It's not aliens. Yeah, that's right. Right, 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 right.
But I
Yeah.
think to me, what you're talking about, and that's why I think it's so interesting how you've brought the two energies together. Like you just went directly and said, no matter what problem you're solving and what people you're dealing with, you have to love them.
You gotta love
That
them.
is not,
That's a key. You gotta love people. You cannot be
but that's not
judgmental.
something
Yeah.
Paymo, that's not something that I would expect to hear from a hardcore designer. Like which you have more in the psychology of design than kind of anyone that I know. And it's like he's just brought forward two very different energies. One which we can measure and one which we have no clue how to even look at it.
Look at, yeah, exactly. Well, the life, it never stop learning and life never stops teaching you. So that's the part that I'm very it's astonishing that every day you wake up, every day you do, every person you meet,
Oh,
is something, a word of sort of knowledge that it's right upon you and right at you, and you have to be able to achieve it. And you have to be able to grab it and
yes.
add it to yourself. So again, you can't continue, or you cannot be in these adventures if you don't love people. That's what I learned. Bottom line, you have to love people. You cannot judge anybody for anything I will always put it into the direction that what expectation I did not meet. If there is
Uh-huh.
any action or reaction to me, I look at it as, okay, what expectation I did, what was the expectation? I don't call it a failure anymore. I call it a success.
Hmm.
So what expectation we could not actually meet? Because when
Okay.
you don't, when there is an expectation that's not met, two parties involved, they
Right.
are both feeling it
Yes. Yes.
because they spend the time together. Anything you do, you build a life. You spend time with your son, you daughter.
Yep.
If the expectation is not met, then both parties
No,
are feeling
definitely.
right. That's
Yep.
that feeling is the one that keeps us moving forward. When I meet expectations a lot, I'm not. I get scared. If I don't,
Interesting.
I make
Interesting.
sure I will make sure that during the day I will have opportunity not to meet expectations, so I can actually keep myself afloat, keep myself moving
Ah,
forward.
okay.
But that
Okay.
gap is the one that pushes you forward. I need to meet this expectation. There are days go by that I met everybody's expectation. I get
Yes. Yes. Something's not
I'm not
right.
happy. I'm not happy when I we call it failure, we call it whatever you call. I call it expectation. At this point, I used to call it failure, but I changed my vocabulary now. Bring it to more abstract condition that
Yes.
I did not meet this person's expectation. So what do I do to meet that expectation? Because when we don't meet expectation, both parties are not are
Or
feeling it,
lost.
are lost,
Yeah.
are feeling
Yeah.
whatever that
No.
feeling is. So I will make
So,
sure that you understand that.
when do you feel that this idea of having to love everyone came to you? Like, was it
Yeah.
something that's
No.
have you always had it, but you haven't been necessarily able to articulate it, or can you remember when that kind of shifted in how you were working with in projects and designing? Like, did that come like did it come from a parental? Did it come from something in society? Can you pinpoint like where that? Because that's a pretty big statement that you've just said.
Right. Right.
That
Well,
that I wouldn't
yes.
necessarily think I would hear from other CEOs of companies.
Yeah. Very good question, because it's natural that you divide and say these people, that people, that kind of people, and all that. But what came to me over time, with it happened with patience. I gave you the time to reflect and react to what I do, and if I and that's number one. I with patience. You have to be patient with people. You have to, because you're not in everybody's number one priority. People have different
Mm,
priorities. People have
right.
different. So if you're engaging with certain activities with people, you have to be patient. That's number
Did you
one.
have to learn patience, or had
Of
that always
course,
been part
yes.
of your
No,
personality?
no, I wasn't patient at all. No.
No.
So Patience is, well, I learned it a lot in the German market.
Okay.
When I started dealing with Germans, and I learned over time that when I was working with Germans, part of the culture, if I ask for something and they don't respond, is not that they don't respect, is basically is that they have not made up their mind. I learned that that was part of love. Like, okay, you gotta love people because if they're not responding to you, because that's one of the most agitating part when you're asking for something and nobody's responding to you. If they're not responding to you, you have to believe, you have to think this way that it's not that they don't want to respond to you, is that they don't have the time, or they have not made up their mind, or you are not number one priority in their list. That
Mm,
question is not a number one priority in their list. So that puts you in the position of neutralization with people. So you're not judging them. First, you have to start not judging. Then you start you then you start then you start learning from them. When that encounter happens, you start learning from them. You start asking them questions. Have an intelligent. Then I have intelligent as soon as I get that chance, that 15 minutes, I start asking questions. I'm not pushing myself into their pushing my ideas. I start asking questions, and then I start showing it, and that has to be genuine in you. I'm interested in
mm.
understanding what you think and how you think it, and that generates intelligent conversation. And then conversation is the greatest thing in life, and that's the part that makes love. That makes the love
And
easier. You know what I mean?
and you and
Patience, questions and answers. Um, you know,
and this is almost intuitive with you, isn't it? Or has
it's
become
has
intuitive.
become nothing has been intuitive, because it's very easy and simple to push it to other people, to blame others, to call others names, to call
Oh,
to
yes.
clean
It's too
yourself
easy.
out of the situation. But as soon as you say, okay, I'm the common denominator of all my encounters, of
Oh,
all
I
my
love that.
situations, then i'm the one I'm the one. So what do
I
I
think
do?
actually, you know what? I love the way that you sum that up, because that was I am the common denominator of all my problems,
Well,
and that is
not
not
really
unique.
conflict,
That's
right?
for everyone.
Yeah. And it
I
is,
know we're kind of at our time limit again.
yeah. Yeah, but
I'm so fascinated with this
no, I
energy
really
thing again.
appreciate this
It's
this talk, because even in the leadership, for example, in any organization, I say that with certainty, and I like this to be actually out in the open. It's the leaders' problems. It's not the people who are actually working with the leaders. It's the leaders' issues. Anything that happens, if you're leading a group of people or leading an organization, or you can it's the leaders problem. That's why we remove deadline from our work. We remove deadline. That deadline is something that the management typically puts forward to blame others. No, I can't put a
yes,
deadline on a person who works 10 hours a day, honest work. What deadline can I put
already
in? All,
they can't
all of
work anymore.
all of these things are derivative of, being the common denominator. You are the common denominator. You gotta love people. You have to do what you love. All of it comes to this point, and then derivatives become very outstanding. That I don't have deadline at Kepstrum. Why would I put that? It's my responsibility to sit when I'm the leader of this company. It's my responsibility to sit down with the other leaders and tell them when they can get this properly, so without disturbing my team.
Right.
Because it
Yes.
doesn't make any sense. What is a deadline? Oh, we need 24 hours. Yeah, it happens, once in a blue moon. It happens. I cannot stop it some because of my problem.
You know, it's full circle here from what we were starting to talk about of living in the present. because
Yeah,
that deadline is a future thing, right? Like that
have deadline.
that is not
Deadline.
living in the present, right?
Have to have a
The
deadline.
deadline is a future mark.
Yes,
Well,
deadline
it's
is a key
interesting.
part. It's passing on responsibility. It's passing on your responsibility to others and then
As a
getting a
leader.
chance to be as a leader. And I think deadlines are deadly. And when you talk to a lot of people, they it catches them by a big surprise. No, you have to have deadline. You got to have, okay, have deadlines.
There's something about a deadline that people like, that it likes, okay, we've got a deadline now, so we know that's when it's going to be done. And it's like a communique that really, in many ways, is only a communique. It's not helping you solve a problem better.
When you put a deadline, that means you have very little understanding of the capability of your team, and the way they work and
Oh,
the way they put out their output is. You have the very little understanding. That's where you put deadline. If you have ability, and I'm not saying I'm the best at all. I'm just pursuing this thought that
yes.
comes from you know all of the. It's a big derivative for me that I say, look, eh, why would I put a deadline on this development team that works honestly 10 hours a day with you know with all honesty and genuinity. So what should I should it doesn't make any sense. It just makes them nervous. I could not call it failure. I failed to actually understand my customer or client or whatever. I fail to understand them. I try to commit to something that's unreasonable and I want to put it on
Mm.
somebody else's life. That doesn't make sense. I fail that a few times a year, but I try to not to have it. It's my responsibility to go to other leaders and say, okay, what do you want? Okay, all right, I can get you that probably with the understanding of I have from my team, maybe a month from now. But I'm not coming to
You're
my team and
setting,
say, I'm not coming to my team. I can say, guys, in a month we gotta have this. Maybe I do sometimes. I have to because I fail, but that's not the
right.
right way of managing it. With the questions and answers, you pursue the progress. With the proper questions and answers, what are the challenges? Why is this
Oh, yeah.
taking too long? Why is this particular task taking too long? Not because of a deadline, but asking a question. Why is this task? Is this the element, the ingredients of this task or A, B, C, D? Yes, I understand. So we understand each other. All right. So where are the challenges? Oh, I'm stuck in this part. So okay, if you're stuck in this side, can we make it easier? Can we simplify the task? These are the
Mhm.
questions we have. Not that, oh, we gotta have this tomorrow. We gotta have this tomorrow. Then we do rework and then rework and rework and rework and waste a lot of time. And waste a lot of time. When deadlines waste a lot of time. Deadlines
And
waste a lot of time.
this is kind of where you talk about setting correct expectation,
Yeah,
because and
expectation.
therefore not being
Expectation.
failure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
expectations with the driving factor. So it's not meeting my expectations. So I'm thinking, okay, this has got to be done in a week or so, but it's not meeting my expectations. So that the gap of not meeting each other's expectation is helping us to learn something more about each other.
That's
So
right.
I can't call it a
Interesting.
failure. I cannot call it a failure anymore because it doesn't make any sense. I failed my team. No, I did not meet the expectation of my team. So I was trying to meet the expectation of the other team and they didn't match these expectations. You gotta
It
have
doesn't
always a
carry with
drive. Yeah, always driving factor
it.
is needed, but not
It
in
doesn't
not.
carry the same emotional weight as the word failure either.
Yeah, it doesn't
Which
exactly. Beautiful ending to this conversation. It doesn't have that dramatic, emotional thing about the failure. Okay, I did not meet the expectation of this person.
I've got to rethink that myself. That's, oh my goodness, that's interesting.
That's a very good.
We've
You put a very interesting point to finish to it. A really interesting finish that doesn't have that dramatic, emotional. You just didn't meet the expectation. So what is the gap?
it
And
does
if If you ever meet
Failure
all the
has,
expectations, you gotta be scared, because if you meet all the expectations, then you gotta be scared too. So always have to have a that's what people say. Okay, fail in small doses. Okay,
yes. Oh, I like that. Okay,
fail in
that's a
small
cool
doses
kind
so
of
you can
sense way.
recover. Don't leave it too far, too big, the gap to become too big. Then you cannot recover. Just fail in small doses. So if you want to stick to the failure, I love to fail in small doses on a daily basis. If I don't in a
And we
couple of
learn
days,
lots. We learn. Payma, I know you got stuff going on, and
which
I said
I can,
I can't thank you enough for this. This is again just I find walking down these thought roads are so intriguing to me. You got me on this energy thing now, which
yeah,
I
for
think
me the same.
we could talk another long time for. Anyway, I usually end. Is there any, like you've already kind of said? Is there anything else you'd like to end with today? Because I was going to say the leadership part was brilliant to me. That was
Yeah.
a big plus. So
Uh, I think as the topic in the future for the future, we can also focus on in understanding the generations. I think that's
okay,
the part of a loving people, continuation of love people. It comes and loving people and expectations. Basically, there are two. You gotta love people, and then there are expectations. So it's very simple. Loving people. With three topics we talk about, and your energy level that keeps you afloat, keeps you
yep,
moving forward towards the thing you like to do, and the loving people, and that loving people means understanding the generations in front
hmm
of you, and how how to meet, how to try to understand expectations, and hopefully partially meeting them, because if you meet them in full, then you got nothing and nowhere else to go.
you got something to worry about. Well, I was going to say I thank you so much. Hopefully, stay on after I say goodbye here, but. I hope you have enjoyed this
I
episode
do,
of Better Than
absolutely.
Not, because in a big way, what you're hearing is the inside of how design is done today. And it's
Yes,
when you think
lots of
of
thinking.
what,
Yeah,
how deep we can go with our minds, the thinking energy that goes into a design per se, that
yeah,
gets it right. I
yeah,
mean, with Payman and his company Kepstrum, take a look. There
yeah.
are many things that we need to figure out these an understanding of what this is all about.
Right.
Payman, I can't thank you enough
I
again for this. We'll
appreciate
do
that.
this again for sure. Stay on for a
Absolutely.
second, and
Yeah.
thank you for listening today.
Yeah.
And bye for now. Until the next
Yeah.
time.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate that. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, very much
Thank you.
so. Are we on? Good. Welcome to the Better Than Not podcast. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. But when we at least do something, we know it's almost always better than not.